Hi guys, today we're talking about harmony and how to make chords interesting. This is something I'm really interested in and really passionate about. I'm a bit of a nerd about harmony. And what we're talking about with harmony are notes and how they relate to each other. So for example, if I play a C and an E, and I play them together, that's what we call consonant harmony. Those notes work lovely together, they sound great. But if I play a C and an F sharp, those notes don't work so well. That's what we call dissonance. So consonance, the opposite of dissonance. Now, those two notes, dissonance, we want to think now we're musicians. Dissonance doesn't mean necessarily a bad thing, okay? As long as we're aware of dissonance and we handle it, it can make for very interesting ideas. For example, if I play these two notes and then resolve them. So I resolve that F sharp, really wanted to pull to G, so which is part of a C chord, and I play those notes with a C in the bass, for example. Or maybe I'll do it even quicker. Isn't that interesting? That F sharp's no longer bad, okay, because we've mitigated that dissonance. We've resolved it, okay. And so think about your music and your harmony as creating tension and then releasing that tension. And that will make you a better composer. So what we like in music is tension and release. You have to really be clear about intervals to understand this, okay? And at this moment in time, if you've been told to watch this video to make your chords more interesting, and you don't know what I mean when I say perfect fourth or a minor third, then watch my video on. It's a very quick video. Watch my video on intervals first and make sure that you can play all the intervals in your chosen key. But I'm going to plow on now. So I'm assuming you know all that. And let's talk about a C chord. Okay, if I play a C, an E and a G, in fact I'll do it down here. There we are. Okay, that's right. Great. Now this is made up of the 1, the 3 and the 5, the root note, the C, the major third E, and the perfect fifth G. Lovely chord, perfect C chord. We all like it, we all know how to play it. I'm going to put with my left hand, I'm going to play a C in the bass just to fill it out a bit more. This is a major triad, happy days. Okay, now what can I do to this to make it, to create some tension and release it? Well, I can change one of these notes. And if I do that, it's going to then want to pull back to this stable sounding C chord. Now, the first note I'm going to change is, well, you can mess around changing a couple of different ones, but I'm just going to start with the third. If I move this third to a 2, to the D here, then what I have is a C sus2 chord. Sus means suspended. There are two types of sus chords, sus2 and sus4. So a C sus2 sounds dissonant, a little bit of dissonance. It's not that unpleasant, but it wants to resolve to there. It's back to E. If I do a C sus4, I'm going to change the E to an F. That's the fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so here we go. That sounds great, doesn't it? There's enough spaced out here. Dissonance needs to be higher up, I think, in terms of when you're putting it on the piano. If you're playing that down here, it gets a little more hard to handle. So C sus4. So a suspended chord has no third. If I have the third and I have the 2, that would be a C add 2. Okay, that's it's a slightly different name for it. Okay, so a C sus2 suspends the third and makes it a 2, so there's no third. A C add 2 has the third in there. Okay, C add 4. It's a little harder to you don't get that same effect as that. There's the sus4 there. I would avoid adding. So if I've got a C, I would avoid adding a C sharp in there. It's not in the key, but we already have a C of some sort. Let's keep it that way. When we added a D, we've got a D. That's fine. And when we've got an E, we don't really want to add an E flat as well. That's going to be, we've already got a third. The role of the E is the third, deciding whether it's major or minor. You can't really have a chord that's got a major third and a minor third in there as well. It's going to be a bit nasty. Ugh, horrible. So we've done the 2, we've done the 4. If I add the major 6th, okay, because we've got a 5th already, if I add the major 6th, I get a C6 chord. To me, it's got a sort of Christmassy kind of sound to it. And then you may not hear that, I hear it, but yes. So that's the major 6th, and then we've got to talk about the 7s. A C7, or a C dominant 7, as it's sometimes called, has a minor 7th in it. So instead of the 7th being B, which you'd expect from the major scale, you'd have a B flat. That's a C dominant 7. Now this is a lovely chord because it gives you a perfect cadence to F. What a perfect cadence is things in music move in fifths. Everything wants to move 5 notes away. So C wants to move down to F, down 5 notes, and if you go down the alphabet, C, 2, 3, 4, 5. C wants to pull to F. Okay, believe me or not, I will play this chord, the C7, the C dominant 7. Can you hear the next chord I'm going to play? Was it that? Yeah. C7 to F, because it's a 5th away. So this chord, whilst quite dissonant, sounds a bit like a train horn. Sorry. It wants to go to an F chord, okay? And we can use that in music. There's a thing called the circle of fifths, which is a chord progression that just keeps moving down in fifths, and it sounds really nice to our ears because music works well in fifths. A C major 7 is a C major chord with the major 7th. Okay, so we've got a B natural as opposed to a B flat, okay? Sorry, B natural as opposed to a B flat, okay? B natural. And this sounds to me like Amy Winehouse or kind of lounge jazz, elevator music sort of sound to it. It turns the major chord into something quite bittersweet. Now it works really nicely if I play a bar of just normal C. And then play the C major 7, by adding the B in there as well. So it sort of makes a sadness to it. Might be really nice for a ballad, but it's an interesting chord, and the examiner's going to love you using 7th chords, whether they're dominant 7ths or major 7ths or minor 7ths. A minor 7th is the same, except for we're talking about a minor chord. So instead of having the E, we have the E flat, and we have the minor 7th in it. Okay, so minor chord, minor 7th is a minor 7 chord. Major chord, major 7th, is a major 7 chord. Dominant 7 is a major chord with a minor 7th. Okay. Obviously, if we add this, now we've done the 6th, we've done the 7ths, we've done the 2s, and we've done the 4s. We already had 1, 3, and 5 in there. So if we add we've done the B, if we add the C in there, we're still in a major chord. This is a C. However, if I add this D over the top of this, this chord is called a C add 9. Okay, it's an add 9. We've got the 3rd down here, but because we've gone over an octave, C to C, we now added a 9th, and this sounds really nice. Very common on guitars to add that 9th in there. It's very pleasant to our ears. If you watch a video on how to write for guitar, I talk about C add 9. Sorry, I talk about add 9 chords. They work very nicely. And then you can even add the minor 3rd up here. So the E flat that I said don't use down, it was down here. You can even add it here. It's a little bit dissonant, but because we've spread the chord out, dissonance helps a lot. I've also added the minor 7th in there just to get it. Jimi Hendrix used to use this chord a lot. It's called the Hendrix chord, well, it's not called that, but people know it as the Hendrix chord because he used it in in his harmonies. It's an interesting chord if you're doing something along the lines of a rock song or a blues song. Perhaps that's it's quite an interesting chord to use. So we have got major chords, we've got sus chords, we've got seventh chords, we've got dominant seventh chords, and then we could go to give you that bluesy sound. Got minor seventh chords. I'm going to just take an A minor here, and I'm going to add the G in it. Gives me an A minor. You could have an A minor 9 by adding the B in it. C major 7. F major 7 is a lovely chord. Back to normal C. G sus 4. Sorry, G. That was a G add 4. Forgive me. Let's do a G sus 4. Very Coldplay to use the sus 4. I go on about Coldplay quite a lot. I'm not their biggest fan, but I mean they're amazing. But yeah, I don't know why I talk about them so much. But their harmonies are certainly really, really interesting. And so we've got some interesting chords already that we're talking about here. The other thing I want to quickly mention is diminished chords and augmented chords. A diminished chord is a stack of minor thirds, and an augmented chord is a stack of major thirds. Now, people think that we treat these like, when we talk about harmony, when you play the chords in C major, you've got a C major, you've got a D minor, you've got an E minor, you've got an F major, you've got a G, you've got an A minor, you've got a B diminished, okay, and there's the diminished chord. It's naturally on the 7th degree of every key you're in. The 7th degree will be a diminished chord. And people treat it like you treat any of the other chords. You know, you might do a bar of C, you might do a bar of F, but if you do a bar of B diminished, it just doesn't work. It's not used like that. The role of a diminished chord and an augmented chord is to create dissonance very quickly and then move into another chord, to pull us into another chord. And you can use them abstract from the key. You can take them out of the key. What I mean by that is I'm going to go from C major to A minor. But I'm going to use, because A has a G sharp just before it, I'm going to make a G sharp diminished chord. And if I play that, I sort of went to A minor through G sharp diminished, but it made sense. It was. I'm not doing a whole bar of G sharp diminished. Okay, even though G sharp is not in my key, it set up that A minor chord because it was a semitone away. B diminished wants to pull to a C chord. Okay, and you'll notice if I play a G major chord and make it a G7, G dominant 7th, it has a B diminished. It has that B diminished in it. And so that's what creates that dissonance that wants to pull back to a C chord. Yeah? And so tension and release is really, really important in your music. Certain styles will have different types of chord. And so if you're doing blues, you want to have dominant 7th chords. If you're doing rock, you want to have... you might want to think about the 9th chords and stuff, like things like that. If you're doing pop, major 7 chords and minor 7 chords will make arguably a boring chord progression. So it will spice it up really, really nicely. And you want to use, not every single chord has to have an extension on it or be changed in some way, but you want to show the examiner that you understand this concept. So you may want to watch this video a few times. You may want to look at your key and think, okay, I'm in the key of C major, for example. I can play a C major 7. That's an okay chord for the key, because remember my key is all the white notes. I can use a D minor chord. I can have a D minor 7. I can have an E minor 7. I can have, could I have an F major? Could I have an F major, because I have an F sus 4? No, because that would be a B flat, so I can't have that, but I could have F sus 2. And then things start sounding really professional, I think, when you start adding these interesting chords in. I will spend a lot of time with you working showing you the options, but knowing that every chord is built up from a 1, 3, 5, and then knowing what you can change to get that sound. If I want to make this F chord, just pulled that out of the air, sound bluesy, I'm going to make it an F7, an F dominant 7 chord. If I want to make it sound sort of bittersweet and that kind of jazzy sort of sound that's a little sadder, I will make it a major 7 chord. If I want to give a kind of sense of hope, I might go for an F sus4. Tension and release that sus chords bring. Everyone should have a sus chord in their piece at least. Everybody should have some 7th chords in there. Ideally go for the 9 chords as well, the 9th chords, the added 9s, and anything else that's stylistically appropriate to your piece. Alright. Talk to me if you're interested in more things to do with harmony and how to use them. If you the augmented chord, by the way, I've just remembered I didn't finish that. An augmented chord is a stack of major thirds. Okay, and it works the same way. It's going to pull. It's going to be a great chord to have to go to. I use it often if I'm going from C to F. Well, that's the 1 to the 4, so I'm going from C, C, D, E, F to the 4. I might use a diminished chord. Sorry, an augmented chord. Because of this G sharp wanted to pull into A. There's nice little tricks that we can pick up here that will make your harmony much more interesting. All right, thanks.